the Shaping the Future conference.
Yes, which I'll come to in just a second. But we hear so much now about artificial intelligence and the way that we're being pushed, and all relating to sort of innovation. So I thought we'd just have a closer look at education, because on the 18th, Monday, there was a conference in Manchester, Next Generation Assessment. And in effect, this was, or at least part of it, was an examination of the use of artificial intelligence, not so much in the sphere of education itself, but more in terms of assessment. And there are just a few points, I think, that are worth making around this. So we see that one of the breakout sessions was conversations around AI and assessment. And we highlighted text here, looking at the potential for AI to radically change the status quo. So that's just put out there rather starkly, without any real justification of the benefits or otherwise of radical change. So we see again, breakout session F, explore the benefits of digital exams for students and teachers, as well as what it will take to make it a reality. So we see this a lot now, really, the unchallenged way in which technology is just put forward as the answer without any real justification. And it looks an awful lot like change is being mistaken for progress. We look back at Gillian Keegan's press release back in January of this year, speaking at the Bett show 2024. And again, she reinforces the message. She says, today we're publishing our latest research on AI in education, having brought together views from our world-leading experts and educators. I want to encourage countries to continue sharing evidence as it's generated, so that we can all better harness the opportunities to make a real difference in classrooms across the world. So again, an unqualified assertion that difference in some way is good. What I thought we'd do, therefore, is have a quick look at some of a couple of independent schools that are in the top rankings by Ofsted. The first being St. Paul's Girls' School, which have developed a sort of an AI contraption, for want of a better word, called iPaulina. I'm not sure if I'm saying that correctly, but nonetheless, they, in their sort of explanation of what it does, they ask this question. If a machine or an application is generating the answer to all the tasks that are assigned to students, does it really benefit the students themselves? And rather staggeringly, the answer is yes. The solution to whatever has been assigned to them is right there in front of them, but it isn't building up the pupil's knowledge itself or helping them realise their potential and abilities. So should this actually be classed as education or laziness? Well, that's an extremely good question, which they don't, of course, go on to answer. But at first glance, it looks very much like it strips away any necessity for critical thinking. And also, the other thing is the inherent bias that might be put into any of these systems. So we'll look at another example here. This is from Eton College, who've sort of put forward a hypothesis for the future in which they talk about a typical school day in 2028. It doesn't seem to be a school day at Eton. The child featured is a girl, whilst Eton remains an all-boys school. But it talks about her attending a secondary school in the UK, and artificial intelligent tools form part of almost every lesson and subject. These changes have rolled out across all levels of education, including state and independent sectors. And then they go on. The AIs are all aware of these questions, the teacher having prompted them before the lesson, and they have been instructed not to directly answer them, but rather guide the students to piece together the answers themselves. So what exactly is a teacher supposed to be doing? But further detail here, and this is where I believe it gets rather ridiculous. They talk about having a physics lesson, they're learning about gravity. So to start the lesson, the teacher invites everyone to chat with Isaac Newton via their tablets and ask him what people used to think about gravity when he was young. The students in the class all start to speak to their tablets, and the simulacrum of Isaac Newton on their screens responds to their questions. Well, we'll come back to exactly where that could go in a minute, but just let's suppose that they start to ask about things that aren't directly related to gravity. And then finally, they go on, and again, they address this bias. Today, the class is studying how the face recognition algorithms of the same era were deeply flawed. This is talking about going back to a sort of decade or so ago, being over 100 times more accurate at recognizing light-skinned males compared to dark-skinned males. So how's this going to be dealt with? And is there any suggestion that overcompensation might have played a part in this? And if we think about what Newton might have said on other topics, this is where this slide becomes relevant. There's an example here from Adobe Firefly on the left and Gemini, both AI products available at the moment.
Gemini being Google's product.
Yes, Gemini absolutely being Google's new AI product. But you can see here that, or at least if you're listening and not watching, but essentially it's represented an awful lot of people who were certainly not black or Asian or of any colour other than being white, have been inserted into history in places that they simply weren't. So returning to the idea that education could be enhanced by this, or indeed that this would lead people towards critical thinking or away from indoctrination, seems extremely far-fetched and effectively set up for a massive failure. So on the theme of failure, and linked perhaps indirectly, we just going to have a quick look at what happened in Sainsbury's and in fact Tesco last weekend, March the 16th. A tweet here: due to an error with an overnight software update, we're experiencing issues with contactless payment and will not be able to deliver the vast majority of today's Groceries Online orders. The stores are open as usual, accepting chip and PIN and cash payments. They put another tweet out that same day saying that they're unable to contact customers directly, but the online ordering system is working properly and all the rest of it. The Sun newspaper followed this up with an illustration of how the smart shop capability in effect completely collapsed. And really, the purpose of selecting this story is not just to poke fun at Sainsbury's, rather more it's to make the serious point that companies across the spectrum are seeking to put people in a position where they trust some system that's labelled as being smart, and this goes right up to digital currency, digital identity. And it's examples like this that demonstrate how quickly and how easily the entire system is rendered completely and utterly incapable. And of course, the only thing to fall back on are the existing tried and trusted measures such as, say, cash and indeed the previously existing card technology. So really, it's just another illustration of much vaunted sort of technological progression in the name of progress. But of course, actually, really, it's just change, not necessarily for the good. However, we are going to continue to have it rammed down our throats. And you might be aware that the BBC have sort of revamped their website. So this is the way that the tabs fall now when you select innovation. And it's just interesting to see that under innovation, not only do we see artificial intelligence, we also see health, science and health under innovation. So this is definitely not going away. And Mike, I mean, I'm sure you've got lots of thoughts on this. It's something that I know you've very closely followed.
We will talk much more about this in extra. My first question to you, Charles, was on your comment about Eton being a boys' school. Is that still the case?
Well,
because of course, it's really up to the boys what they are these days.
I misspoke. That is a very, very good point. And after all, they were talking about 2028, and who knows? I mean, you might be able to choose the year by then. It could be any year. We'll see.
Indeed. Okay.